You know what that means. Going to give you exactly what's going on right now. So let's get started, shall we? All right, 3 at 3. Let me see here. Adjust this just a little bit so you guys are kind of looking at me a little. Anyway, let's get started. Presentation now. There we go, 3 at 3, folks. So 3 at 3 is 3 p.m. roughly Eastern time. I should say roughly, right? Like 3 at 3 roughly would be a good name for this because sometimes I'm just too damn busy trading and it's hard to get it out. But we got it for you today. Disclaimer, this means that I am not your investment advisor. Much as you might like me or the observations I have during this presentation, this is not investment advice, folks. This is for educational and informational purposes only. All right, lawyers are happy. I'm on. Here we go. So, I thought I'd update you guys and give you a little look behind the scenes at some alternative data because I talked about it for halftime today briefly, and I think it's important. So I'll be on with BattleFin tomorrow. BattleFin's partner with Market Rebellion in bringing alternative data to the masses. Now, presently, BattleFin is really just for hedge funds and super wealthy investors because some of the information that they bring out is like $20,000 to $40,000 a month, which is probably more than a lot of you want to spend. But it is wildly insightful and gives you a wonderful look into tomorrow's newspaper today. So, Netflix. You guys know that just 2 days ago I talked about this one and we loaded up on calls. So this is not just to me breaking my arm, patting myself on the back, but you guys know what happened. That was that day, that was the 13th of April, and we closed just shy of 400. We cited the buying and the level at which we saw the buying come in. I'm about to show you in a couple slides about that alternative data that helped make this just a killer trade. All right, so on this particular day, which was again the 13th of April, the stock ran all the way up against 400 and these calls went to $13. And I talked about this. Hey, what's normal activity for Netflix? Well, in the month of March, which was pretty much a volume explosion across the board, it averaged 71,000 a day. Netflix, the day before we had that unusual activity, traded 151,000 calls, which was a trigger. Then it traded a ton of calls on the 13th, and as we said, the most active yesterday was the Friday expiration 420 calls. 14,000 of those had traded. You might recall that I showed you this, which is the heat seekers showing us, hey, beginning of the day, they started off at $1.66. These are the 420s, not those 390s that we talked about earlier. These are the 420 calls. So in other words, we had already exploded and people were looking for even more upside. So they bought them for $1.66, as you see there. Some lucky folks bought them into the 150s, and then by the mid-session, they were $8.67. Today, with Netflix up to 430, as of this slide that you see here, those calls would be worth at least $10, probably about a $2 premium to that, probably $12. So the options we showed you at $1.66 yesterday, $12 or more right now. Now, you're thinking to yourself, wow, so where does the unusual activity, that was your trigger, right, John? Correct, that was my trigger. Want to see my other trigger? How about this? This is what I wanted to show you guys on halftime. Maybe I'll get a chance to show it tomorrow for a different sector and tell you why it's important. This is from my friends over at SimilarWeb. They are one of the providers of information over at BattleFin. And there are 600 of those providers, by the way. In other words, alternative data is exploding, folks. It's going to be well up over $1.5 billion business this year in 2020. But last year it was at least $1 billion business. And here are some of the things they do. Well, SimilarWeb does a fantastic job looking at unique visitors year over year in this case, and they can drill down deeper than that. And then again, that's what you pay the 20 grand a month kind of for that kind of data. But let's look at these. So Hulu, which is of course not nearly the size of Netflix as far as subscribers and so forth, as you go across from the left to the right, this is all 2020 data. You see that in January, their business is up about 11%, unique users, unique visitors. And then it kind of fell off all the way down to like 2% year over year growth end of February. But as we went through March, more and more of us stuck at home, more of us going over to Hulu. So by the April 10th date that we have here, which is of course just last week, we had that year over year numbers were up 17%. But keep in mind that's Hulu, which is not publicly traded, and that's also on a much smaller base, not on the 100+ million people that have Netflix accounts. Then you see YouTube, and how did YouTube do? Well, as the people were probably looking for all kinds of things on YouTube. How do you make a mask? Do-it-yourself things for hand sanitizer, wouldn't recommend it. But all of that kind of stuff, they were looking at everything from January all the way through till March. And then it kind of falls off pretty steep into April here. Then look at Netflix. Now, year over year, Netflix into January 24th, year over year unique visitors was down 23%. And that's off the big number. Then keep going across here and you see that, okay, all of a sudden, as we get into April 3rd, April 10th, we're seeing the numbers up 14%, up 12%. That's alternative data. How many people are hitting that site? And that's off of 100 million. So when we say unique users, not just the same people coming back, unique users are up that much. That's huge for Netflix. We believe that is partially why people have bought Netflix up so aggressively in the last 3 sessions, because today, of course, it is exploding to another high. And as you saw from the data I showed you just recently, that is something that's putting money right back there in my pocket. All right, let's do another one. Take a look at this one, folks. TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor, of course, you know what they do, booking. You want to go somewhere, they can help you book it. They get a little spiff from restaurants, from hotels, from handing you off, me off, from their website to wherever you go as far as that restaurant, that hotel, that airfare. You get the idea. Well, early in the day today, if you look at the second post there, the 1208 post, we saw just after halftime, we saw bullish call buying in here when the stock was under 18 bucks. Somebody stepped in and bought options that expire on Friday. So just 2 days from now, because we're Wednesday, so 2 days from now these options expire, and they bought the April 19 calls. Paid like 15 cents for them. That's $15. Bought them up to 45 cents. That's $45. And again, every option's for 100 shares of stock. Well, then look at what hit an hour after that. Just an hour later, the stock popped and went over 19, meaning that all these calls all of a sudden go in the money. And what did they do? They bought 10,000. That's a million share equivalent, folks. Because again, every option's for 100 shares of stock. So when they step in and buy 10,000, that's a million share that they can control until January, third Friday in January 2021. How about that? So when we see that, and they paid about $4. Now $4 is $400. 400 times 10,000 is a $4 million investment. Now those are the kind of trades I want to follow. I love all of you who are nice enough to ping us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the different places we are. But if you're retail, I love you, but I don't want to follow your trades. I want to follow the trades as somebody who's putting 4 million on the table. And that's what we did here. So they bought these. They also came in here and did the January 1650 puts, and they sold those, as you can see, 10,000 of those. So that's another 1 million shares that this player would be obligated to buy if TripAdvisor falls below 1650 by that third Friday in January. So one, that's a right. The owner of the option has the right. The seller of the option has obligations. So when you look at this one, somebody put this trade on basically for $1, not for $4, but for $1. How do I know? Well, because look at it. They collected 3, they paid 4, so that's the net is $1. So instead of putting 4 million, they put 1 million on the table, but they have an obligation to buy if it falls below that 1650 level. They could own this stock at wherever it goes, $10, $12, wherever it is. You have that obligation when you are short a put. You have given somebody else the insurance. So there's TripAdvisor, and there it was, as you saw, mid-February, stock was over 30 a share. Then you saw it trade all the way down to and through 15, and then on this move to the upside, we've been getting in here and buying and having a nice day so far. Thank you very much because of that buying. Well, what's normal activity in here? Well, I went back and said, as I've talked about earlier, well, Netflix, what was average volume? 71,000 a day. So when we see 150,000, that's a big day, right? Well, in this case, in TripAdvisor, in the month of March, it averaged 3,400 contracts a day. 3,400. So you'd say, well, same metric, then if it doubles, that's big, right, John? Yeah. But take a look at the total in the call column here, folks. Calls, they bought a total today of 34,000. That is 10 times. Or as my friend Grant Cardone would say, I'm going to have to tweet Grant today, 10x, baby, 10x. It's 10 times as many as normally trades in here. And look, that's what the heat seeker looks like. January 21's, January 21st, January 2021, sorry. The 2150 calls. There you see, they're up to 11,159 total contracts so far. Those April 19s, they're up over 10,000. The April 20s, 4,600. You get the idea. A lot of volume in here. And 10x, 10 times normal volume in TripAdvisor. Bang. All right, next. So on halftime today, when I was talking with Scott, I was talking about tells. And here's a tell, folks. So we all know that about 2,800 in the S&P's fairly critical support if we're just above it, or resistance if we're just below it and button up against it. Well, we traded through that today. And as we were down 700 points and then 600 on Scott's show, I said, you know what though, Scott? They came in for these 275 puts. Early on, they were buyers. And they were right because we fell from down 300 at the open to down 700. So those puts went from, as you'll see in a moment, let's say 90 cents to about $1.55, $1.60. And then the market rallied. And as I said, look at the difference between bought and sold, because with the heat seeker, that's what we care about, right? We care about bought and then we care about sold. So when we get all these people buying them and then they're all selling out, does that tell me, because these are puts, does that tell me that I think it's going up or it's going down? Well, once they start selling those puts, that's smart money telling me it's over. The downside's not going to be there today. I talked about that with Scott on the program. And I said, you know, this is a pretty good tell. They're saying that there's a lot of put selling in here, which tells me, Scott, that we're going to rally. Now, do we get back to positive or not? Time will tell. I don't think so. But we're also not just going to whoosh fall off the table. At least that was what was happening at the time. So now let's see how that played out. Here's those 275 puts. again, they expire today. There is the opening. As you can see, 9:30 Eastern time, they started buying these. And they bought 2, 7, 9, and so forth. You see a few 10 lots in there. I didn't want to just show you the block trades, but I do care about the blocks. That's important to me. Big money trades. So, as you see, they're trading them for $1.05, $1.11, you know, a little over $1 here, right? Then, look at where they were just a little bit ago before I went on air with you here. They were down to 10 cents. So all of those tells, all of those put sellers after that first hour of trade, they were telling you that this thing was going to turn things around and rally. And guess what it's done? Turned around and rallied. In fact, while we're talking here, let me just take a quick look. While we are talking here, it looks like, yeah, we came substantially off the bottom. Substantially off that, what it was, at 704-point decline. Bang. All right, last one, Bank America. That's BAC. Some folks call it Bank America Merrill. Look at this. This is just fresh meat for you. 10,000 of the June, not this June, June of 2021. These are out more than a year into the future, a year and 3 months to be precise. So somebody comes in here and buys a lot of calls with the Bank America at 22.50, let's say. They come in and buy the 25 calls, paid $2.77. So embedded information. Are they looking for a V-shaped rally in here? Not really. They're buying them out over a year into the future. It's going to be less reactive to short-term market moves. Obviously, if we go up, they will react. But I'm saying time decay, it's pretty nil in here. You're out a year and a half, almost a year and 3 months into the future. So they paid $2.77, which is $277. So it's a $2.7 million bet that Bank America goes higher between now and approximately 15 months from now. I like the odds. I also like the fact that it's 1/10 of the cost. If I wanted to tie up $1 million worth of this stock, that would be $22.5 million, because trading 22.5, so 1 million shares, 22.5 million. Instead, for just 2.7 million, they control that same chunk. Bang! Smart trader. That's why I follow them. Take a look at that. Bank of America, still right around that same place. 22.46 is where it was just before we went on the air, down 5%. And coming from 35, you know, these banks get the support from the government. We get back to work a year from now, 15 months from now. I think we'll get back to work way before that. But a year from now, 15 months from now, where is this stock if we're back to work? I think a lot higher than it is right now, and that's what this trader thinks too. Bang. Thank you, folks. It's always a pleasure doing 3 at 3. Please tell your friends about it. I'll try to bring some of that alternative data to the table tomorrow. And I'm going to be working with Battlefin on an alternative data webinar during our trading day tomorrow. So go to battlefin.com, go to Market Rebellion. You'll find a link and you could join us. Thank you for that. Have a great day, and I'll see you back here on Market